Hello, and welcome to the Experience Local with Russ and Scott. Each week, they bring you conversations with local Christian businesses and business owners. Join in every Monday live at 9 a.m. Pacific on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook. Listen to the program on Spotify or wherever you listen to fine podcasts. The Experience Local is brought to you each week by wonderful sponsors.
Copper Rock Real Estate. Commercial and residential real estate in the Mid-Willamette Valley. CopperRockRealty.com. Independent merchant brokers. Low cost and no cost debit and credit card processing. 877-460-4747. IndependentMerchantBrokers.com. Join Boson Hub Digital Development in supporting Kicking Cancer. Kicking Cancer provides support, education, and resources for cancer patients, survivors, and families. Kicking-cancer.org. More than just a home, the Arbor at Avamere Court in Kaiser. Arbor at AvamereCourt.com. Assisted living at Avamere at Albany. AvamereAtAlbany.com. Discover Oregon Real Estate. Experts in luxury home sales, farm and ranch, commercial, business sales, and land developments. On the web at dore.llc.
And now, your hosts for the Experience Local, Russ and Scott.
Ta-da! Here we are, everybody, live with Russ and Scott on the Experience Local. We are so blessed to be with you today. And you know what? We're here all about believers in business in our local communities, reaching out, doing amazing things. And today we're going to get some really, really valuable information too about the business of Mr. Jim Kuhlman with State Farm, who is our good friend and is back with us today. But also, we just want to focus in on what God is doing, the amazing things in our lives today. And happy day after Easter, Scott.
Yeah, I was just thinking, everyone got to celebrate Resurrection Day yesterday, and that's always fun. It was a good day in church for us. But this is also this day after Easter, the Pope has passed away at 88 years old, and that affects just millions of people around the planet. And so our thoughts and prayers and everything are with everyone affected by this.
Right.
This is just one of those global things. And anyway, a big impact. And he just gave the Easter blessings there and passed the next day.
Well, the Pope has worldwide gigantic influence, but everybody that is listening to us or watching us today also has influence on life. And that is why it is so important as we stay close to God with our businesses and our lives and how we reach out, what Believers in Business is all about on the Experience Local, that it makes such a difference. Maybe to not as many people as the Pope, but you know what? It makes a big difference in our local community. And today I want to remind everybody that we are here to talk about Believers in Business and amazing local communities every Monday, 9 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time for your listening, view, and pleasure. And that is 11 a.m. Texas Standard Time, if you happen to be a Texan like Scott. And so also you can go to local.theexperience.video for more information. That's local.theexperience.video for more information all about Scott and I, about this show, about our other shows, how to subscribe to our YouTube. But if you want to just jump straight there to our YouTube page to subscribe today, because I know you want to, www.theexperience.video will get you there. Theexperience.video will get you straight to the YouTube page today, and we would love for you to do that. And Scott?
Yeah, we have been doing the Experience Live, which is on Wednesdays, and all of those episodes are there. We just passed the 200th episode recently, we've been now doing this show for a year. So just in the shows, the episodes that we have, that's over 250 different episodes to choose from with remarkable guests like Jim Kuhlman. And as you mentioned, he's been a guest. He's a great friend, longtime friend, and a great guest here on the show. We've had him a few times. And I just like his perspective on life, on family, on integrating your faith. And today we're going to talk about some of the things looking out into the future. And so I just value his deep insights.
Well, big ditto for me, Scott. So let's bring him in and let's have you get this party started. Here we go. Welcome, Jim.
Hello there. How we doing?
We're good. So Jim, where are you dialing in from today?
Today my wife and I are celebrating our 29th anniversary.
Wow, happy anniversary.
Yeah, thank you. So we came back to Maui as a way just to remind ourselves of where it all started. And so I'm here, dialing from here.
All right. Well, it's an early morning there for you.
Quite a view to enjoy your show from.
Oh, look at that. Wow. Beautiful.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Well, that's exciting. 29 years. Congratulations.
Thank you.
As we say, that's a good start. So keep it going.
Mm-hmm. That's the idea.
So Jim, let's have you give an overview of Jim Kuhlman, the Jim Kuhlman Insurance Agency, and what's going on in the world there.
Yeah. Well, I got into this having been in full-time ministry, vocational ministry before I got into, insurance. And I had this aha moment, as I was deciding my future. And I realized, really this can be a very pastoral role. And so that's the angle, certainly the perspective I feel like God's asked me to take it on as, and a lot of similarities to the work I was doing before. I am developing people. I'm looking out for people. We are, trying to build team and look for practical ways to serve. And so I happen to be, a lot of what we do is the risk management business. But of course, that's the foundation for building anybody's, long-term financial life on. And you were talking about the future. And so, I feel like we're integrally a part of just people's planning, if we do our part well, helping them, manage the risks of everyday life, recover from the unexpected, and hopefully realize their dreams.
Yeah. Jim, you and I have been friends for a long time, and you are full of great wisdom about what's going on in the insurance community. And there's a lot of things going on nowadays, from natural disasters and people fears about what insurance is going to cover, what they're not going to cover. And just a lot of things happening. Give us a little bit of your wisdom as to what's happening these days and how the landscape of the insurance industry is changing.
Sure. Yeah. There are a lot of smart people working on these issues, and there is changes. We have a warming planet that is causing, increased and more intense losses at a degree and pace that's unprecedented. And that's forcing change, in the industry to address and deal with that. And I'm, I guess I choose to remain hopeful and confident that the answers are there, but it's not an easy, it's not without, some anxiety, because it's not been done before, what we're trying to pull off together. But, I think there's going to be more challenges. It's going to have to be kind of beyond insurance. There's going to have to be some governmental, cooperative efforts. If there's, what do you do when there's areas that are high risk, say of wildfire, and no insurance companies want to participate, and so then how do we work that out, and governmentally, how do we find a solution to that? there are some different, I love our model of government with different states, so that different states can try different things, and then the best ideas tend to percolate out and percolate up, So, there's ways that the government has chosen to step in, and, some of those seem to be good. Some of those are still to be figured out. There's ways that we're all working together, where all the insurance companies sort of own some element of these risks. That's pretty common, in a long time practice, where they say, hey, here's a risk the insurance companies aren't so interested in, but let's spread that risk out, somewhat evenly and fairly among all the carriers. So I think I think we're actually in a good position. The insurance industry as a whole is and particularly the company I work with, is in really good financial position. And some of that was, the way it was set up so long ago in terms of what kind of ratios they have to hold. And they're not all the same in terms of, not all carriers have, chosen to go beyond, but there are some minimum ratios that insurance companies have to maintain to be prepared to pay out big losses. And we are prepared. The California fires, State Farm's going to be, we're the largest provider of insurance down there. We're going to pay out our claims. We're going to be able to handle that just fine. It's not jeopardizing the company or anybody.
This is one of those things that has impressed me with the insurance industry over the years, going back to the days when I was in college, and my degree, my undergraduate was had a concentration of finance. So taking the insurance classes and talking about the insurance theory, right? And things that you can insure are sudden and unwanted, right? Like a wildfire or a car accident, right? I'm not going to call you up, Jim, and say, hey, what's the deductible on my oil change, right? That's not sudden and unwanted. Maybe unwanted, but certainly not sudden. And I like what you talked about, how the insurance company is coming together, because, again, one of the things I learned in class was about life insurance. And you don't find federal insurance on life insurance because the industry is kind of self-regulating or self-protecting in that, so that a company will never go out and not pay a life insurance claim because the other companies will come in, because it would shake the confidence in this. And you're there in Hawaii, so I'm going to swing over to life insurance for a moment. One of the things that I found about, because we have family in Hawaii, is that a lot of people over there are believers in life insurance when it comes to growing and protecting generational wealth. So, so can you talk to that a little bit, and why people would consider life insurance?
Yeah, I heard a phrase a long time ago, no one drinks from a well they dug, or like somebody else dug the well for you. And the idea, I think, where life insurance, you buy life insurance for other people, for those, that you care about, the things that you want to see happen for the people you love the most, but you're not going to be around to complete it personally. And, it has some unique advantages. It shows up at the right time, and it shows up income tax free. So it most definitely allows for an immediate estate, regardless of what else you've got going at that moment in your life, or, later, or whenever that day comes. It creates an immediate estate for those people that you love. And over and over and over again, seeing how it has become, it's like, sure, generational wealth is a factor in life insurance, but oftentimes it's just simply, that family not having to take some massive step backwards, and being able to continue on the path that they were heading on, financially, to be taken care of. So, yeah, it's insurance in general, I feel like, came out of the church model. Everybody kind of, used to gather around the local church, not knowing who would have need, but everybody would give a little bit. And then so that the person who had need, whether it was their, house that burned down, or a loved one who died, who's a key member, contributor to the family, everybody else could rally around through the efforts of the church, and And so there's something, I don't know, beautiful about being able to help people build a plan and know that there's going to be some support there when that day's needed.
Yeah, that is so great. True. And, I want to remind everybody that we're here with Jim Kuhlman of Jim Kuhlman Insurance, State Farm. And we're so thankful, such a great friend of ours. And Jim, today, I was thinking about, you got such a strong faith in God and you don't hide that. You and I have long discussions about our faith. And I think it's so important to always put God first in all that you're doing. We've talked about this a little bit before on past shows, but when you are reaching out to whether getting new employees or clients and how you deal with them, how does your faith affect all of that? Because I know for me, it's always leading the way, and I know for you too. But talk a little bit about that, how your faith kind of leads you through everything you're doing, even as far as building your team.
Sure. Yeah. I think I often live out of a phrase with our team, I get to be me and you get to be you, which is, like I get to lead and be the person I am and try to be genuine. And, but you get to be you, and not everybody, obviously people don't all share my faith and that's not, a critical component to work on our team, but we do want to have great respect for each other and freedom. And in my freedom, I feel like it gives me the opportunity to, quickly establish, hey, I'm coming from a perspective of faith. This is a huge, and part of my paradigm and understanding. So, this is where I'm going to be speaking from. And I just find, even whether it's team or clients, I just try to be genuine. And oftentimes it's hard to not share from my perspective, like that, I believe God made each of us unique and special. And so trying to figure out, what is each person's unique gifting. Hire a lot of younger team members, and they have yet to really be able to articulate what's their unique gifts that they haven't fully discovered or maybe even fully developed. But, what is it that makes them special? And in a world of social media and, comparatives, I feel like it's an important reminder to my team and, the people who work with this, like, what's your, let's find what's special about you that nobody else can compete with. There's never going to be another Russ Hedges, in the billions of people that ever been and the billions of people that ever will be. There never be another one. There's only one. And so find things that best align with how you're uniquely wired. And it's a lot easier to push through the hard times.
Yeah, that's a good comment too about comparative life in social media, because when we live a life of comparison, we're always going to lose, right?
Yeah.
That's just a no-win thing. And your comment about respect, this really resonates. I was thinking when I first got out of college and got into the corporate world, had a mentor, and we were going to a particular event, and he was talking about office politics. And he says, Scott, if you think of the root word of politics as polite, he says, you've mastered everything there is to know about office politics. And it seems like respect is one of those things that it's not taught, right? We don't have classes on this in college or in school. So talk about how you apply that in your business with customers, partners, your team members.
Yeah. Well, I think it starts with curiosity about people and their situation. What's important to them. It's obviously includes a lot of listening. I think we talk a lot, in our team about when you're working with a customer, the visually to think about it, like getting up on your side of the table and going around and to their side to look at their problem with them. We're trying to understand their problem, their issues, their concerns, their hopes, their dreams, their wants. And so you're trying to get on the same side of the table with them instead of across the table. Like, see if you can understand. I've often thought, a really good salesperson understands the client's needs. A great salesperson helps the client understand their needs. If you can, help draw those things out. And I just think everybody's, open. Some are starving. Some are certainly very open to having somebody listen to them. And whether it's my team or it's a customer, we try to listen well and check in, and hope, would check and say, is this what you mean? How about this? What about that? Have you thought about this? More collaborative, and then I feel like only once we really understand somebody can we maybe bring some of our advice, and of course we say, of the, 100 and some products that you can, buy through our office. There's really just one product that we're selling. And, we talk about, and that's trust, that's the one thing, we're trying to establish long-term trusting relationships. And we don't want to do anything that erodes trust. And yet, and we want to it takes a long time to build trust and it's easy to lose it, so you have to do the hard work of, and it might take many appointments or a lot of listening to get there. But we know once we establish deep trust with each other on our team, with our customers, well, then now we're in a position of great influence.
Yeah. Well, I completely agree with that. In fact, we hear about the know, like, and trust factor in business all the time. And getting that, you are so good at getting to know people. Who doesn't like Jim Kuhlman? I mean, let's just face it. And then, people get to that trust factor pretty quickly with you because they see the authenticity coming out. You talked about you be you and I'll be me. I mean, you are not trying to be somebody you're not. And that really draws people. I think today insurance is really complicated and it's hard for a lot of people to understand. That's why we all have good insurance people like you, because we just want somebody who really knows what they're talking about, but also that authenticity and being somebody that we feel like we can really trust pretty quickly. And I just love that about you. It just, how did that all start with your connection in your community that you do? When did you realize that was so important to your business and everything you're doing?
Well, trying to think. I think from honestly day one, I came into this business in my young 30s, so I wasn't without a fair amount of life experience to draw from. And I remember an agent in Corvallis retired, and I came in to take over, and the team that had been there was still there. The employees, and that was, it was a mutual decision for us to stay together and work together. And I remember saying, though I was brand new and green to the industry, I didn't really have much insurance experience, but I knew people and I knew relationships. And I said, I said, for right now, here's our rule, keep people in front of Jim and keep Jim in front of people. Like, take everything else that you guys can handle so I can be in front of people, and then help people get in front of me. I knew if I just had the opportunity to be with people, I could establish trust. And through that trust, we could find problems, and then we could find solutions. And it really hasn't stopped. I'm trying to more build a team of people that are also of that same mindset now, and less maybe myself in that role all the time. But and in fact, I think you said what's new with us early on, just that we have an office in Lebanon, we have an office in Corvallis, and now we're going to have an office in Newport starting in July, which is a real feather in our cap. There's of the 20,000 state farm agents in the country, only around 50 or so have 3 offices. So it's a very high honor that the company has found trust with us, me and our team, that they're like, hey, we'll give you more ways to serve because you've done it faithfully now for these last 22 years.
That's great. Congratulations on that. And I remember back when I was in banking, we had an insurance agent that was opening up several offices. He had come in looking for a loan for an airplane because this was just too hard getting to all the offices. So maybe that's in your future.
Hey, I could be open.
Hey, as we were talking about the future, and I know we're going to wind down here, I just want to have you talk a little bit about the value of mentorship early in your career. Now here you are quite established. Let's talk about mentorship for you and you to others.
Yeah. I've heard it said, I forget, everybody should have a Peter, a Paul, and a Silas, I think, from a biblical example. You somebody who's ahead of you, somebody who's walking with you, and somebody that you're leading, and as a young man, I feel so grateful having gotten connected with the ministry of Young Life and having had, disciplers in my life, older, men in their faith who built friendship with me and invested in me and believed in me and challenged me. So I do think, sadly, I think it's a bit of an uncommon experience that, if you haven't experienced it, it's hard to give it, I think. And so this is why I believe there's a lot of those of us we have so much to give, but we don't necessarily have an audience to do it with. And we're not really sure how to do it. There's a lot of opportunities, I'm sure, within our local churches that we could probably find an outlet, but important. And I think because of my experience and having always maybe been both, discipled to this day, I still have older men in my life that I am regularly in contact with who invest in me. And likewise, I find that much of my role on my team, in our office is a mentor type role where I am, trying to care for them, speak the truth in love to them, like, hey, here's, we do a lot of hero sandwiches in my office where it's like, hey, you're doing great. Here's one area that you really could grow in, but hey, keep it up. I believe in you. It's kind of, you're delivering the hero sandwich because, we all need probably 2 parts positive to every part negative, at least, and so we try to be, I think we have a unique culture where our culture is very positive, very cooperative. I've heard it said many times from team members, even recently, where they're like, man, of all the places, I've never worked any place where I felt like everybody was so committed to my success. And so on the simplest aspect, I'm thinking, okay, I want to love my team in the way that models how I want them to love our clients. Right. So I need to be extravagant. I need to be consistent. I need to be, I need to know them and looking for ways that I can live that out.
Well, Jim, I just want to tell you, man, you're full of so much wisdom. I love all that. And we are at the point we have to roll for the day, but I'm telling you that I appreciate you. I've got jim@jimkuhlman.com scrolling along the bottom. What other great ways are there to contact you?
Yeah, well, you Google us, Jim Kuhlman State Farm. You're going to find us pretty easy. But that's probably the easiest of all, jim@jimkuhlman.com. Okay,
great. And we got other information in the comments there and in the show notes, so you can get a hold of Jim. Jim, thanks so much for being with us again. Appreciate you. And we're going to send you out to the green room. Hang tight for just a sec. All right.
Happy anniversary, Jim.
Thanks, guys.
Happy anniversary. You bet. You bet.
Thanks, right, Russ. Scott. Great conversation.
It was. And we just appreciate everybody. We'll be here again at 9 a.m. Pacific next Monday. Thanks for joining us. See you next week. Bye, everybody.
Thank you for tuning in to The Experience Local with Russ and Scott. Listen to the program on Spotify or wherever you listen to fine podcasts. Join in every Monday live at 9 a.m. Pacific on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook. We look forward to seeing you next time on The Experience Local with Russ and Scott.